Welcome to 10 minutes of current events for middle and high school classrooms. I'm Carl Azus with CNN Student News. You're exactly halfway through September, and we're starting today in Paris. Representatives from about 30 countries were there yesterday. It was a meeting focused on ISIS, the terrorist group that wants to form its own country in Iraq and Syria. Some analysts say the U.S. government has struggled in its efforts to get concrete support of other nations in fighting ISIS. But the U.S. says a number of them have promised to help, from its allies in Europe and Canada to its partners in the Middle East. The actual levels of support differ from country to country. The U.S. has launched more than 150 airstrikes against ISIS in Iraq. It's planning more in Syria. But in his speech last week, President Obama said the fight can't be America's alone. From a meeting in Paris, we're leaping across the Atlantic and the U.S. to Baja California. It's part of Mexico that stretches down between the Gulf of California and the Pacific Ocean, and it was lashed yesterday by Hurricane Odile. This is how things looked before the storm made landfall. Odile made a direct hit on Cabo San Lucas as a Category 3 storm on Sunday night. Wind speeds were 125 miles per hour. Beaches and ports were closed, streets were drenched, outdoor markets trashed. The storm weakened as it moved north over Baja California, but forecasters were warning residents and tourists that the threat of flash floods remained, along with the potential for mudslides. Mexico celebrates its Independence Day today. Events in Baja California had to be canceled. All right, when you think of something endangered, you might think of the Bengal tiger or the blue whale or the black rhino. You probably don't think of rivers, or specifically California's San Joaquin River, the most endangered one in America. The state's historic drought, the one expected to cost California more than $2 billion and 17,000 jobs, is one major factor. But it's not the only one.
Hey, I'm John. This is my kayak, and these are my calluses. And this is the most important river you've never heard of, the San Joaquin. It's a river that starts out looking like this, and by its midsection, looks like this. It's the second largest river in California, and whether you've heard of it or not, it's a river you're probably connected to. It helps support a region that grows about 40% of America's fruits and vegetables. This year, the San Joaquin was named the most endangered river in America. That's why I tried to kayak and walk down the entire thing, to get to know the river at its own pace, on its own terms, to meet the people who depend on it, and to find out whether this dead river could be brought back to life. Navigating a river should be easy, right? You start up in the mountains and follow the water down to the sea. That's not the case with the San Joaquin. I tried to follow the river for more than 400 miles, but was faced with stuff like this, and ultimately this. So why is this river such a mess? Demand. Farmers and residents want as much water as they can get a hold of, and the state has promised those people 8 times as much as actually exists. To try to make that work, the government has engineered the San Joaquin into a river of pipes and canals, shuttling water across the state, moving it from way up here all the way over there. So much water is pulled out of the river that in a few parts they actually have to pipe more back in. And that still isn't enough. The river runs dry for about 40 miles, sometimes more. The San Joaquin is a Franken river. It's on life support. It's failing the people and fish who depend on it, and it has made my Source to Sea trip a serious challenge.
Our transcript page at cnnstudentnews.com, the only place where we select schools for our roll call. We'll start just north of the equator today at Escuela Las Morochas International School. It's in Ciudad Ojeda, Zulia, Venezuela. To the Pacific Northwest, the Bulldogs are watching at Beaver Lake Middle School. Found them in Issaquah, Washington. And in Boyne Falls, Michigan at Boyne Falls Public School, the Loggers are logging 10 minutes with CNN Student News. A number of schools have stopped teaching cursive, but you'll still have to sign stuff. Credit card receipts, bank and legal documents. You'll have to scribble, scrawl, or style your name in pen and ink. John Hancock did it with so much style on the Declaration of Independence that his name became synonymous with his signature. Others throughout history have made their mark.
In the heat of war, in the cool of peace, and in the daily struggle with life, great souls have left their marks. And now at the National Archives, those marks are getting their due in a show of historic signatures. Jennifer Johnson is the curator.
I think the power to a signature can't be overemphasized, whether it's a letter from an individual who had a question for the government, or if it's a president who is signing an act of Congress and making those words law. The power is hard to walk away from.
General Dwight Eisenhower traveled much of Europe in World War II, collecting these signatures on banknotes from people he met all along the way. There is much joy. This is Michael Jackson's patent for a dancing shoe, where he signed his name with a flourish, as did magician Harry Houdini, who put his pen to his draft card as if it were yet another spectacular trick.
It was truly part of his personality at the time, and that is his signature.
There are surprises, too, like a calling card left for Vice President Andrew Johnson by John Wilkes Booth, the very day Booth assassinated President Abraham Lincoln, or the wedding registry of Adolf Hitler.
I think some of the most powerful ones, or at least the most interesting to me, are the examples that you might not expect to find.
Katharine Hepburn, Frank Sinatra, Jackie Robinson, and so many others pulled from the billions of papers in the archives, each making a mark in history. Tom Foreman, CNN, Washington.
Time for the shout out. How long is a circadian interval? If you think you know it, shout it out. Is it 28 minutes, 12 hours, 24 hours, or 20 days? You've got 3 seconds. Go. Circadian is an adjective that relates to 24-hour time periods. That's your answer, and that's your shout out. For most people, that's broken down to about 8 hours of sleeping and 16 of being awake. Though the National Sleep Foundation says teenagers need at least 8.5 hours, ideally a little over 9 every night. It also says you're not getting that. One factor could be this. As part of his Living to 100 series, Dr. Sanjay Gupta discusses something called digital detox.
How do you know you have a problem and you need a digital detox? Well, if you're watching this right now, you're probably pretty tech savvy, you got lots of different devices, and you may be somebody who is in need of a digital detox. It's when these devices start to control your life as opposed to making them easier. The area we find this impacts your life the most, and this may surprise you, but it's in fact your sleep. Find that people who are using their devices so close to bedtime, it creates an arousal in your brain that is so profound that it makes it much harder to go to sleep. It also affects your circadian rhythm overall. That's your sort of normal rhythm between light and night, and when that is disrupted, it just throws off your whole sleep schedule. One thing you don't realize is that simply by reading an email or reading a text message in the middle of the night, it can take your brain from 0 to 60 very, very quickly. And that brain is a very, very hard brain to slow down. It's generally a good rule not to be checking the phone, certainly in the bedroom or around your bed before you go to sleep. One golden rule that most sleep experts agree on is if you do get woken up by the phone or by something else, and you're awake, get up and walk around. Don't come back and lie in the bed until you're truly ready to go to sleep. So take a break. Put the cell phone away. It could help you live to 100.
It was a serious wake-up call for the anchors of Good Morning Tennessee.
That is again. Did you see it? There it is again.
Seriously.
There it is again. Man, we're all jumping around.
Okay.
Woo.
Yep, a bat. Usually they try to avoid the spotlight or any light at all, but this one wasn't camera shy. It repeatedly dive-bombed the anchors and avoided capture for several hours. It was eventually caught and released into the woods. I think that'd drive anyone batty. Some anchors might not bat an eye if they had the chiroptics for that sort of thing, but staying put seems like a bat idea. That's about all the time we have on CNN Student News. More puns and stories are on the wing tomorrow.